Hello, Sudhir.
Hi, Jeremy. Sorry to make you wait.
No, no, no. Well, we're on time, aren't we? How are you? You okay?
I'm good. I'm good. Actually, my class was also going on. I was teaching a student, so I just wrapped it up and I appeared here. So,
Brilliant, brilliant. Can you hear me okay? Is the quality of the sound okay?
yeah, perfect. And from here,
Brilliant. Yeah, excellent. Brilliant. I was looking at your profile picture. Incredible. All your results.
thank you very much.
It must be a world record.
It's not a world record, but it's an Indian record for sure. I don't know if there's any world record of this type because
No,
um,
but but I've never seen many of these. I just simply do not know. But of these different tests. Tell me something about how you started to take tests and the journey you've been on because it looks incredible.
see, the thing is, you must know about these tests called the GRE and the GMAT. I used to be a
Mhm.
teacher of these. I used to work with a company called Career Launcher in India, and then I
What's it
worked with
called? The name?
Career Launcher, and it teaches students these tests, the GRE, the GMAT, the LSAT, etc. And I had some Indian exams also in my turf. The thing was, I had to leave my jobs at a time because of my kooky nature, which is depicted by my results also. So when I had to start something on my own, I had to do something different because the market is huge here. Actually, there are so many competitors. There are so many IELTS centers here, English teaching
Mhm.
centers here. So I had
Oh,
to do
really?
something so that I could, interest people. I could make them come to me in place of going to a fancy center or something. Then I
Yeah,
came
yeah,
up came
exactly.
up came up with this idea that merit is not that prevalent in our society, in my country. There's a lot of expenditure on infrastructure. There's a lot of expenditure on other things, decorative things, but no teacher had such a record. So I took this road and I started building a profile that was second to none, and then the profile picture is there.
Really amazing. And so when did you start taking all of these tests? When did you start? How many years ago?
My first exam was IELTS general training IELTS, and it was in 2020. And they have been taken in quick succession because I think I passed, like it's they are more than 50 now, but I think I passed about 30 of them within 1 year only. So
Yeah, yeah, that's incredible. Wow. And so during the pandemic as well, really, it was the pandemic year.
yeah, I used to teach, I used to study, and I used to take these exams. And I think the most incredible one, in my opinion, was the certificate of proficiency in English, because we, have to do a lot to pass that exam, and it is a very
The certificate
difficult
of
exam. It's a fiendish exam, I would say.
which one? The Cambridge one?
The CP, I have passed the Trinity
Yeah.
ISC 4 also. Um,
Yeah.
that was equally, I think, demanding. And but if I have to say that I'm proud of something, then I think it's the it's the CPE.
Oh, wow, okay, brilliant. And what's the total number? Do you know the total number you've taken? It must be about
I lost count at a
it
point.
must be about
Maybe
75.
no. I don't think the number is 75 at all.
Hmm?
It's in
One, two, three,
it's a figure
five,
greater than
six,
50 for sure.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Oh yeah, it's about well, it's over 50 anyway.
That is for sure. I think 50 plus it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah.
And now I
Okay,
don't find any.
let's start then, and we'll be very quick. Okay, about from now about 15 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah, perfectly fine.
15, 20 minutes. Okay, I'll ask you some questions, and let's see, and I'll assess you. Obviously, you know. Um, Well, I feel quite humbled, I must say, Sudhir, to have you as a client. So I'm very happy. But so I hope it will be a useful experience for you today. Okay, so let me start with the first question. Okay, do you believe that artificial intelligence will have a significant impact on society in the
I
future? Why and why not? Okay.
In the future, I think it's going to be the only thing that is going to matter, because artificial
Mm,
intelligence has made us lazy and other kinds of non-human things already. We, if I'm talking to you right now, it's also a kind of artificial intelligence. Otherwise, we might not have had any chance to meet each other. Or maybe even if I see, if the chat GPT thing, now we have something that is going to prepare our articles on the spot, and people are not going to make an effort if there is something of that sort.
mm.
Apart from that, I think artificial intelligence will make cooking easier also in the future. My mother will use artificial intelligence perhaps. So if my mother is using it, I think everybody else is using it, and I think the society is going to be known to be an artificial intelligence society in the future, for sure.
Okay. You think it's going to be the age of AI, age of artificial intelligence?
For sure. Maybe they'll kill us, the robots. I don't know.
Okay. Okay. Here's another one. Describe a time when you had to make a difficult decision. Okay. How did you approach it, and what was the outcome?
It was during my last, as in job only. One of my students was getting manipulated by my bosses, and
Mm,
I have been an eccentric person since my childhood, and I was like, I was on this moral ground, as in if I should go here or there, if I should be with the student, or if I, should be blindfolded to this phenomenon. I chose to be with my student. I had to leave my job as a result, and I, took the plunge. I left my job. I said I would be with him. I would be with her actually, and I, exposed my bosses to the media. Like they were
mm.
trying to manipulate her into going to a place that was not very conducive to her, future and
How
career.
well-being.
And
Yeah.
I, was with her. I gave her the documents and all. Now the real, I would say, palpitations started when I had left the job, because I had
Mm,
already left three jobs and two jobs before, and this was the third one. And I had, become very uh, intractable. Now I was not keen on doing any more jobs, because each time I had faced these devilish bosses, and I was like, now I would do something on my own. But then again, I knew only English. That was my turf. So I had to do something that could make me stand out in this already very crowded field. Then I took the plunge of starting my own startup called IELTS, and I think it has turned out well, because I became a speaker also on a very reputed platform in India. Then I got featured in the India Book of Records, and now I think it's hunky dory.
perfect. Okay. Okay. Now, here's another one. Would you say that you are thick-skinned? Okay. If so, give examples. Okay. And if not, tell me why. Would you say you are thick-skinned?
I am a stoic for sure. I'm a thick-skinned person, but I still have a heart. See, I do not have a very healthy family. It's a very dysfunctional one, and nobody in my family is a literate person. So what happens is that our ideologies clash, our ways of living clash, and at a point I have to be the outcast here, and that hurts me. And I've tried to leave my house three four times, but still, as in, my heart starts to bleed whenever I recall them. So I'm stuck somewhere between the emotions and the rationality that I have to pursue. Thick skinned because I have never quit. I have never left my work. Emotional because I've not been able to put paid to all of the familial mumbo jumbo also. So I would say I'm thick skinned. I am strong. I've done something that is not very easy to make my place in a domain that's, as I said, is inundated with other teachers. But yeah, I would not call myself a stone hearted person. I am still vulnerable to emotions.
Okay, excellent. Okay. Now, discuss the advantages and disadvantages of globalization in today's world.
The first merit I can think of is, of course, availability of nice products. As in, if globalization is given the push, then the products from developed nations come to our nations, not the developing nations or the underdeveloped nations, and we are able to make use of them. To illustrate, I think if we are using iPhones, we should be, you know, happy about that. Another positive aspect I think is a lot of opportunities regarding employment. Our people are not that industrious. We do not have many industries for that matter. And if companies from outside come, people from inside get the jobs. A demerit, of course, the cliche, the pollution thing, but I think pollution is going to be there, you know, in any other form also. Like we are burning fuels, we are burning every other thing. So if pollution is coming with employment, it is a merit in disguise. And
Mm-hmm.
another hazard I can think of is perhaps the local people lose their opportunities or jobs sometimes. Like we have some indigenous commodities that are not sold by Zara or H&M. So sometimes it
Okay.
happens that they lose their existence, the local products. Like we have this thing called paranti. You might not have you might not have heard about that for sure.
No,
But
no.
yeah,
What's it called?
like this piece of clothing has died out.
Ah. What was it called? Paranti?
It's a kind of clothing only worn by females, but
Mhm.
now it's all about I think tank tops, tube tops. Sorry.
Okay. 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 Great answer. Okay. Here's my next question. Some people squabble with their family. Some people squabble. What's a good way to, sorry, what are some strategies to avoid this?
See, disagreements mostly happen only when you are not able to make peace with their psychologies. Like otherwise, I think physically we can do anything for our families. But still,
Mm.
if you have to make your place in this kind of purgatory, you might have a separate room. You might want to enclose yourself for some time because you are still under the same roof. That is fine, you can help them whenever they need you, but you should be an outcast inside the house rather than being outside. Apart from that, I think talking can help, although it's easier said than done. But still, try to do that. As in, suppose if a person is a homosexual and his father is not able to understand that, perhaps he
Mm.
can sit with his father and talk about the biology involved. The probability is low that the father is going to understand the biological mechanisms, but still,
Mhm.
if they were lucky, they would be gay in the other sense, happy sense afterward.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Yeah.
These things are fine. Then go out a lot. Nowadays people do not really take time out to spend with take time out to spend with each other, as in going out for movies or maybe doing other kinds of rejuvenating stuff. And I think that has had repercussions. We are not energetic enough, we are not fresh enough. And these not fresh enough people are not going to be fresh with each other also. So maybe frustration should be eliminated, the general workplace frustration, or maybe other kinds of tiredness.
Okay. Okay. Here's another question for you. Describe a book, movie, or artwork that has had a profound impact on you and explain why.
There have been a few, and I'm a big bibliophile. But if I have to talk about one, I think it would be Ali Wiesel's Night, because I'm someone who has turned from being a devotee to being an atheist. And the
Okay.
journey of that person, during the Holocaust, where he is questioning everything that he had believed in, is something that is a parallel to my journey also, because I was a blind devout person, and that was because of my familial pedigree. My parents used to follow this god man, and I just entered the domain. But um, as I said, I am an outcast in my family, I'm an alien here. So what happened at a time when my metacognition had reached its pinnacle, I started doubting that god man. And then of course I started doubting god also, and now I think there is no god. And that is the case with Ali also. Like his Holocaust experience turns him into someone who questions his mirror image also, like if this is true or not, because he had been following god for a long time. But when the tribulations started, no god appeared on the scene to save him, and his father died. So perhaps the night the book called Night actually validated my ideologies. So that's very close to my heart. Apart from that, Mark Manson's books are nice, and I'm reading The Denial of Death by Ernest Becker right now, and that's also very intriguing.
Okay. Do you spend a lot of time reading?
Yeah, I like reading a lot.
Okay. Okay. Now, here's one. Do you tend to put off tasks? Are you a sort of person who tends to put off tasks?
No, no, no. Procrastination is not at all my thing. I can I would put off my entertainment before I put off my
Ah,
tasks. I teach my students myself. I don't have any colleague or anything, and I start teaching at 7 a.m. and I stop teaching at 11:30 p.m. And
oh my word.
in between also, like, I'm checking tasks. I, of course, I'm a human, and to err is human, and to err is Sudhir. Uh, but in those times I kind of apologize to them, because I think my students are the most special people in my life. They make me eat, they make me do all other things that I need to do because of the financial input. uh, and if I'm not able to serve them properly, I apologize. Then I take some time from them. They also guide me that you should be getting entertained now, you should be going out, you should be recreating. So then I take a small break, then I take a smaller excursion. When I'm rejuvenated again, I start working again. I do not want to put off work, but sometimes my physiology doesn't allow.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Um, let's see. Okay. Talk about the ethical considerations surrounding genetic engineering and its potential benefits and risks.
uh, Ethically, it would be like people should not be changing the sex of the child, as in some, this can also be done through these genetic means. And apart from that, I think there should not be any kind of um, you know this spiking thing that the child should be an engineer, or he or she should have the chromosomes related to this particular personality. So we should let the child be, first of all. The benefits, of course, can be, we can have superior progeny, like we can have people who are good at sports, eventually, or people who are great scientists. And another merit could be, like, we could have better populations in regard to physiology again. We might have some diseases or imperfections right now, but with genetic re-engineering, or maybe genetic tampering, if I may say so, we can produce people who are not with those kinds of defects. Like, we might have a child who has a better nose, and the population is full of such people, and so is the case with the upcoming populations. Risks, there are many, like, these things, we have observed the genetic materials, the processes, and we are not so cellular that we can look into the actual mechanisms that are happening. And sometimes reaction can go in the wrong direction, and the child can die, and that could lead to, that could make the mother barren also permanently. So that's a risk. Apart from that, I think a damage, a hazard is that the doctors might become greedy. Like, there could be children on sale, like, if you want this kind of child, you have to pay this much of money. Or if you want that kind of girl, a girl who is bound to become a supermodel, you have to pay maybe 40 lakh rupees in India. So it can become a business, but I don't think medical pursuits should be so commercial that we should start tampering with life in general.
Okay, great answer. Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, those are all of the questions. You've been fantastic. As I said before, I'm honoured to have this call with you, and I think you've done a great job. I mean, your English is amazing, but you're also a very cultured and interesting person. So um, I send you my compliments. I send you my compliments. What we're a very small school based in London with about
Yeah.
10 teachers. Okay, and we mainly help Italians. Okay. Um, so however, what I can do for you is send you our certificate, which is just to certify that in my opinion, you have a C2 level. Okay, but obviously that's it goes without saying. I mean, sure, you've got a great vocabulary. Your grammar is perfect. You're very quick at speaking um, and gathering structuring your thoughts and your arguments. Um, Phrases like "taking the plunge," "hunky dory." Um, so yeah, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Do you have any thoughts or questions for me,
Yeah, yeah.
Sudhir?
Could I ask you some questions regarding English only? Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Jeremy, this thing has been with me for quite a long time that,
Hmm.
like, I've scored the highest mark or the top mark in many exams in writing, as in,
Hmm.
there was this test called Michigan English test, and I scored 80 on 80 in writing. There
Hmm.
was this many language cert C2, but my IELTS writing score has been a 7.5, which has been irritating, to be honest.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
is it really that tough to get to a 9? Now my writing score in the CPE was 203, which would translate into a band 8, as in if we
Hmm.
convert the score into that domain. And like, otherwise also, like, I've scored so well in other exams, but IELTS doesn't go beyond 7.5. Is there anything special about it, or what is the case with IELTS? Like, have you taken it, if I may ask so?
No, I haven't taken it. I haven't taken it. Okay. So you know, I'm a psychologist by background.
Yeah,
Okay.
I read about you.
You read that, yeah. And so, we've got to understand that IELTS is a test and it's been constructed, and test construction isn't perfect. How many times have you taken the IELTS?
Like, I've taken it 3 times. One time my score was 9 listening, 8.5 reading. I'm talking about the academic test.
Yeah.
8.5 speaking, and 7.5 writing. Then the general training exam, 9 reading, 9 listening, 8 speaking, 7 writing.
So how to explain a lower than expected mark? It could be bad luck, okay, because there is always natural variation in test results, okay, and so um, a test like IELTS should be constructed very well, and over 1,000 people, the test will be accurate, but it doesn't mean they'll be accurate for every single person. Okay, they're all not always a good reflection of
Hmm.
the true abilities of that person. That's one thing. I mean, without looking at your answers and looking at your papers, I wouldn't be able to comment
Yeah,
much further. Um,
it's okay.
IELTS, as you know, IELTS as well. Um, it's an English test, but more than anything, it's a test of what aims to be a test of how, especially the academic IELTS, how an undergraduate would deal
Hmm.
with a university setting. But as I say, it's limited. It's a tool, you know, and sometimes you've taken lots of tests, okay, but sometimes, and we used to say this in psychometrics, um, the test is all very well, but real life is better. In other words, I wouldn't worry. I wouldn't worry too much. I wouldn't worry too much. But if you ever want specific help with your writing, then we can organize something.
No.
Okay.
And one last question.
Okay. Different.
It was by one of my students. Uh,
Hmm.
can a native speaker by default score a 9 in IELTS writing?
No, no, and that was what I was going to say as well. And I always say this to my students with IELTS. It's very important to teach and to learn to the test. Okay. In the IELTS speaking, for example, okay, you can have a native speaker, but if you're not able to express your ideas and back it
Hmm.
up with examples, okay, in a quick and coherent way, then you won't get a good mark, regardless of your level of English. Okay. And in fact, often when we prepare, I'm sure you'll find the same when you prepare students. Sometimes you have someone with a good level of English, but they're having difficulty with IELTS. And so it's really important to understand what the exam requires, okay? The sort of techniques of the exam, okay? Rather than the level of English. In IELTS, you can actually make lots of grammatical errors, but still get a good mark,
And
strangely.
you must have you ever watched an Indian IELTS teacher teach students? Like there's a lot of obsession. Like most of them do not know what the band descriptors are, so they keep
Mm,
teaching students idiotic idioms. That colorful
exactly, yeah.
language.
And that's not
Um,
going to help them at all. It's not going to
that's
help them.
that's quite a pain. Like sometimes
Mm.
people come to me and they are so paranoid about the kind of stuff they are going to speak when they are not able to speak itself. So
It's a
it,
very
it,
practical exam. It's a very
yeah.
practical exam. Mm.
Fine. These were my
Okay.
questions.
Well, listen, I'll send you your certificate, and yeah, it's a pleasure to meet a fellow teacher, and a pleasure
Likewise.
to have this conversation. Let's keep in touch. Okay.
See you. Thank you.
What's the weather like in India? What's the weather
Weather.
like?
It's been unpredictable a little this year because
Uh,
otherwise, right now we are sweating, but I'm comfortable
mm,
here. So I
okay.
think let's forget genetic re-engineering. Global warming is gonna, is gonna kill us first. I think.
It's not good. It's not good.
Not at all.
Okay. Take care now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.